Hello, and welcome to the first episode of The Doctor is In. This is something that has been brewing in me for a few years now, and is now time to do something about it. I've been working to build my intellect for a while. I've been working to build my intellectual community for half a decade through Evangel Classical School and Comfort College, which I am a part of. I've included links to them below for those who are interested in learning more about local classical Christian school and a liberal arts college to complement any education that you might already have. But to start, what is this channel going to be about? And in a word, books. I like books. I like the way they feel, the weight behind them. I enjoy the way they smell. Nothing like the smell of an old person that you can collapse your face onto when you're tired. Most importantly, I like what they do. I am sitting in a room lined with dead trees. On these trees, etched into their remains, are the minds of men of old. I can literally pick this up, flip through the pages, and spend time getting to know the authors, like Plato or Socrates, who have been dead for a very long time. I can have a one-way conversation with them that you can't do with people nowadays, at least not in a way that they would actually tolerate. I can sit with their minds open on my desk and mule through their thoughts. I can ponder them, write on them, dissect them to my heart's content. And through the study of good books, it has changed my life. Books bring life. If there's nothing else that you take away from this, it'd be to spend more time in good books because of the life that you'll gain from them. Everyone in America at this point has a history with books, whether it is good or bad. For myself, I had a slow start to my love of books. I was one of those gifted few that got to spend multiple years in kindergarten. It is the most fun class, so why wouldn't one want to spend extra time in it if they could? For myself, I went to a public school for the first year, and the second year went to a private school that taught how to read in kindergarten. I obviously didn't know how to read in kindergarten after my first year, and so I got to take it again to learn how to read that second year of kindergarten. Meanwhile, my younger brother was already reading because my older sister would come home and try and teach us what she had learned at school. Of course, I would not listen to her because she wasn't the boss of me. My younger brother had no choice because he was like 3. And so away she went teaching him all that she learned. By the time he was in first grade, he was probably already at by the time he was 4, he was at like a first grade reading level. Whereas I was at a first grade reading level at age 7. So a little bit different there. I didn't really care though. School did not interest me. It was a place to go to hang out with friends. This was kind of a bummer because in 3rd grade, I was failing handwriting. To those who have seen my handwriting, it's not really a shocker. I still suck at writing today. One of the reasons why I went and got a doctorate. So I had to stay in every first recess during 3rd grade to work on my handwriting. It helped enough to get me to pass class, not enough to be legible to anyone outside myself. 4th grade, though, is where things changed for me. I will commonly refer to my 4th grade teacher as my crazy 4th grade teacher. Knowing what I know now, I don't actually agree with him on much of anything politically, aesthetically, or even literature analysis. However, I owe him the biggest of gratitude. From my memory, which as a 4th grader, I'm sure is still supreme, all we did every day was English. As a 4th grade, we read Great Expectations by Dickens, and were diagramming crazily hard, difficult sentences. It was all completely over all of our heads. And while he was crazy, he made me care about school. 5 other teachers up to that point had tried, and they had all failed. He was the one to get through to me, though. So while I don't agree with him today, I massively appreciate what he did for me. I have still not learned a new thing in English or grammar since his class. He has taught me literally everything I know, and I know I have forgotten so much more that he did teach me, and it's a real shame. I really wish I could go back and retake his class again because I would appreciate it all the more still. I wish I could read my notes from his class, but alas, my writing sucked still then. So, learn to write better. I made it through that school year not being terribly bookish, but I did care somewhat about grades and learning new things. I had full intention on not doing any kind of white collar work or college at that point in time. My mother would often ask me what I wanted to do when I grew up, and the only thing I knew is that I didn't want to sit and work at a desk because that would drive me crazy. Interestingly enough, I now read for a living. God had a different thing in store for me. Sixth grade, I grew fast. I had my current height by the time I was at the end of sixth grade. I got into sports because I was tall, and sports became a real idol for me in high school. God worked to remove sports from my life, though. Freshman year, I started to get sick. The doctors didn't know what was wrong with me then, and as far as I know, still don't know what is wrong with me. I started to really slow down. Not wanting to, I just pushed harder. I pushed so hard that come my junior year, I went into cardiac arrest. The doctors still aren't quite sure the cause, but more than likely it is because I have non-compaction of my left ventricle, which is the most likely cause of my sudden cardiac arrest. My heart is slightly deformed. I was dead for a full 40 minutes. No pulse. Here is a picture of me in the hospital. The doctors and nurses told my parents to be prepared for me to be a vegetable. 40 minutes is a long time to go without a pulse, and the medical procedures that they were using on me were still very experimental. I died on March 22nd, 2008. I came back to life on March 23rd, 2008, which was Easter Sunday that year. The doctors didn't know it, but I had roughly 150 people praying for me that morning that I would come back. I was out of the hospital by the next Friday. 8 weeks later, I was playing at the district golf tournament. Now, I didn't play well because I had to take a 6 week break while my defibrillator implanted, but I was there. I have sprinted 2 times since that day, both times resulting in my defibrillator going off, shocking me because my heart rate got too high. The once athlete is now reduced to jogging at best. This kind of reset my expectations for life and what I was going to be doing with it. I was now a vastly different person. My identity changed. I lost friends because of this. This was a lot for a 18-year-old to digest. I actually turned to religion. I started to read every theology book I had and started to buy more. Over the next few years, I read a lot. I didn't really have direction though. I wandered through books aimlessly, not having a guide, just reading the things that I had access to. I learned a lot. I also wasted a decent amount of time reading things that weren't worth the time. A few years went by. I found a girl I wanted to marry, got married, and wanted to start a family. I was selling cars, making decent money, but I wanted something more stable. So at 24, I decided to go back to school. I started with a Bachelor of Science in Business Management. I went to Western Governors University, WGU, which is a flat rate school per semester, meaning you pay one fee and take as many classes as you could at one at a time. I jumped on this with gusto. My wife worked some during the day, and I had weird shifts with the car dealership, so when I wasn't working, I was reading. Eventually, I got to the point of taking one 5-credit class per week, and it took me 8 months to get my first degree there. A few months went by. My wife got pregnant with our first son, and I spent a few months looking for another job, and I couldn't find one. After my first degree, we did know that we didn't want me really being in school with small children. And so Becca was due in August, and I went back to school that March. I knew after getting my bachelor's how fast I could go with this school, and so I put the pedal down and worked on my master's in business administration and got that in 5 months. I graduated a week or two after our first son, Jax, was born. Through this process, I learned something about myself. I am really good at learning things through books. A few years passed and I started teaching at Evangel Classical School. I was hired on to teach science and mathematics. 2 years in, and one of our omnibus teachers got pregnant with twins. She would need to be replaced. I had always liked omnibus, which is our Bible, literature, history class, so I volunteered to take it over. We got COVIDed that year, which is a blessing to me, so I got to finish the year at home teaching over Zoom. The next year, I was slated to continue teaching the omnibus class. At that same time, we were working on starting a college, and I volunteered to do that and to go to school and get another degree if that was needed. That summer, the college board asked me if I would go and get a doctorate for the college. I said yes. So I was teaching a high school class that required a lot of reading, along with math and science classes, a college class that required a lot of reading, and while getting my doctorate. I knew going into that school year that I was going to have to be reading 500 to 800 pages a week and to teach through it. I knew that my current reading level would not be up to the task. So that summer, I took some courses and practiced for a solid month to teach myself how to speed read. I started the course reading at about 100 to 125 words a minute, and by the end of it, I could read decently well, going 600 words a minute, 800 if I really needed to. If I wasn't too tired, could be focused and in quiet. But I knew I didn't get a whole lot of it if I did. I only did that fast if I had to get it done, like 20 minutes before class, and I still had 50 pages to go. I was flying. So the next 2 years, I taught omnibus. I taught in college, and I got my master's, or I got my doctorate of arts and a master's in passing in liberal arts with a focus on philosophy. Interestingly, with the rules of the college, because I went to Harrison Middleton University for these ones, their accreditation requires for the degree to take at least 2 years. And I got done in 21 months. So they actually had to postpone and wait for my graduation for the 2-year mark in order for me to actually get my degree. So I beat the record for how fast it could go. But I do think there was one other student who had done it faster than me before that. Through it all, I have learned a lot and would probably say that I am rather bookish now. Books are a comfort for me. They are always there, like old friends, to walk through them when I need them. I am the kind of person that I am today because of the books that I have read and the conversations that I have had through them. Many people don't know where to start, how to do it, or what to look for. I want to help you with that. I want to be a resource for learners, to students, to homeschoolers, to mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, business owners, teachers, and Christians. My interests in books are vast, but my specialties would be business, literature, theology, philosophy, history, and a more general STEM. I have actually read several math books. It does make me a nerd, but I don't often work through the problems when I'm reading through them, and so my knowledge in mathematics is more theoretical as practical, but I do know a decent amount about math. Calculus is when I start getting a little shaky. So, all that to say, I like books. And when I approach books, I do have some filters that I like to look through when I start to read. Now, I do read with a Christian lens. I am thoroughly dispensational in my theology and my approach to books. I look at the historical, the grammatical, and the literal meaning of books while paying attention to the genre of the books. This is truly my guiding principle when reading any book. I don't get to dictate what the author meant by the book. I need to know the author in order to understand his book. I don't actually care what the book means to me or to you. I care what the author is trying to say. So when I go to analyze the book, I start with the author. I look at his time period. I look at his teachers. I look at his location and the men around him. I like to see who influenced him and who is influenced by him. This can tell you so much about a book before you even open it. I like to see if the author ever changed his mind on the views of his work. Um, my grandfather had a saying that he never liked to read a book until the author was dead, just so he could track to see if the author ever changed his mind. Um, Sometimes it doesn't matter as much about what the book is saying, as much as what it influenced and how it changed people itself. For example, I would take the works of Rene Descartes. His work influenced a movement that I would say he wasn't actually shooting for. And most of the understanding of his works are taken out of context. More on that later, though, when I get to a Descartes book. In a similar vein, I would actually say that Mortimer Adler, in a book called The 6 Great Ideas, I would say this is a very helpful book to read when starting to read the great books. When one starts to read, one should pay attention to how the author portrays what is good, what is true, and what is beautiful. And the next 3 tiers look at would be how the author thinks of liberty, equality, and justice. These are just 6 of the 100 or so odd great ideas that Adler proposes in his great book set. These are all lenses and facets to look at and look through while reading books. If what you're reading doesn't refer to any of the great ideas, then your book is probably not a great book. Thinking about this further, this all seems very simplistic, and I think it is. Learning is not something that is actually complicated. It just takes time. The hard part with learning is you have to learn it all in order to see all the connections. For example, a book that I plan to go through on this channel at some point in time is the Pythagorean Source Book and Library. This is a compilation of writing, all of the writings that we have on the Pythagoreans. And on Pythagoras, the father of the Pythagoreans. He was massively influential in the way that you think about the world, and you don't even know it. At best, you probably remember, if you're a good math student, the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. And that's probably about the gist of what you remember from him. But that is a small snippet of what he has done for the world. It's even crazier, though, because this is also the only book that I have found reference, speaking of Pythagoras' travels. Early on, he was tagged as someone, tagged by the people of his village as being someone who is wise. And so his village sent him to travel to learn from all the masters of the time. This sent him down through Babylon, into Egypt, through Phoenicia. And ironically enough, it actually says that he met the disciples of Moses. Now, who would that be? At that time period, it would be none other than Daniel. Yes, the Daniel from the Bible. So Daniel tutored the father of one of the main lines of Greek thought. Plato and Aristotle were both of the school of Pythagoras. Not a coincidence. The things that take a lot of time when it comes to education is taking everything in. There's a lot of stuff to learn, which is why education is a way of life. No one gets to the point where they're just educated. They might just get bored with the constant churning through books, which I can understand. The way that academia is set up currently with higher education is soul-sucking. The constant desire to discover something new or not would be defeating. Life is more than discovery. Learning is also. With learning should come a level of enjoyment. Life is more than a collection of facts. It is also the enjoyment of the things learned about, such as whiskey. Whiskey is good. To understand how it is made, how to get all the flavors and tones in it to make one appreciate it all the more. This Lagavulin here, Lagavulin 16, is mastery in a cup. It's something else. smoky and sweet, peaty, smoky. This is just delightful. My wife and daughter are smirking at me as I take this time to enjoy this. To give some direction on the kinds of books that will be covered on this channel, though, it will be limited to whatever strikes my fancy, and also whatever you ask for. I want to do books that are important to me and the ones that shape the way I think. I also want to share some with you that I think everyone should read. From there, I'll be working through books that I encounter, giving you the good and the bad. One thing I want to be on the lookout for are current authors that actually can write. So much of what is being published today is strictly crap. So, to give some examples, I pulled some books out from my shelf that I want to go through first. These books are either nostalgic for me or paradigm shifting / paradigm setting for myself. So, the first one that I'd say started off my reading journey is actually this one here. Little book, My Side of the Mountain by Gene Craighead George. My son is popping his head up over the couch as I say this because he's working on reading this right now and his bookmark's in here and he wants me to give it back to him so that he can finish reading it. This is a book about a boy named Sam who goes and lives in the Catskills Mountain in New York and finds a peregrine falcon and he names it Frightful, and his adventures there. Now, Jean Craighead George, she is a naturalist through and through, which I didn't know as a kid. I have always loved natural stories growing up, so I really liked George, and I also really liked Jack London's White Fang and Call of the Wild. Now, my mom introduced this book to me when I was around the 4th grade, so just starting to like reading. Interestingly, it was one of the first books that she ever read cover to cover. Now, I read all of George's books that were at my local library, which turns out, I was looking up today, were not very many of what she wrote. She wrote a ton. Interestingly, though, her most famous book, Julia of the Worlds, is actually the most deplorable book of hers that I've read. There's a full-blown rape scene in the book that isn't handled or discussed at all well in the book. Julie never deals with it. It just happens to her and the story moves on. Now, I'm not against hardship or sin being in kids' books, but it should be dealt with well, preferably biblically. This is a complete blemish on George, and I'm sad that it was her most popular book. Many of her other books are fantastic, and I highly recommend them. Particularly, There's a Tarantula in My Purse. It is so much fun and will encourage you to get more pets in your own house. It goes over like I think it says, the cover says 172 of her own pets that she raised with her kids, going from raccoons to smallmouth, largemouth bass, toads, crows, owls, tarantulas, snakes, you name it. If they found it outside, they raised it. One time there was even a turkey hawk, or a turkey vulture, if I remember correctly. Fantastic book. Read it to your kids. Each chapter is basically an animal. Or several animals because it's not that long of a book. But it's fantastic. Go read it. Now, a slightly more controversial book that I'll bring up, but I can't get out of my childhood without some reference to this one, Harry Potter. This to me was the first book that I read like crack. The first 3 books were out when I was a kid. This is even the edition that I first had. Actually, ironically speaking, I'm pretty sure my brother borrowed this from one of his friends and never gave it back, and then I stole it from him. But like the cover is legit falling off. The pages are old and worn, and to me, this is just like that. It's even falling apart. I take the middle of it. To me, this is cuddling up on a couch listening to Switchfoot, A Beautiful Letdown, because that was the album that my sister loved at the time. while my brother played Pokemon on our Game Boy Advanced, and me devouring this book. Um, this to me is home. So I plan to go through the Harry Potter books. Um, Maybe individually, I'll have to go back and reread them again because it's been at least a decade since I have, or as a whole, and going through them. As a Christian, I hear a lot of parents talking about them, talking about Harry Potter, and having problems with them. And I will gladly admit, Harry Potter has problems, but I have yet to meet a parent who has a problem with Harry Potter who has the right problem with Harry Potter. Most Christians have a problem with the magic. Those are the same parents that have a problem with me drinking whiskey right now. There is magic in Harry Potter. Absolutely. There's also magic in the world. Miracles are real. God works through them. And that is a type of magic. Not all magic is forbidden. Some magic is forbidden, which Harry Potter does dabble in some of that magic. Divination is forbidden in the Bible, and there is a whole divination class. Totally. Ironically, that is the magic that Rowling pokes at the most. The problem with Harry Potter, though, is it's morally gray. There is no higher purpose behind good and evil. It is completely arbitrary. The greatest example of this is going to be with the unforgivable curses. So let's see, you got the Cruciatic curse, the mind control one, and then the killing curse, Avada Kedavra. Can't remember the name of the mind control one. Imperial curse. Those three curses are unforgivable. I understand why they're unforgivable, but taking, for example, one, the killing curse. Is all killing wrong? No. Murder is wrong, but not killing. So why is it just carte blanche? All killing is bad. That's actually a problem. A good example of this would be in book 6, when Harry is trying to leave his family home, and you have 7 Aurors, 7 aged, wise magicians helping Harry and 6 Harry imposters escape the Death Eaters and potentially the Dark Lord. So all the good guys, guess what magic they get to use? They get to use Stupefy, the stunning spell. Guess what the bad guys are using? The killing curse. So the good guys get to die, but the bad guys don't? How is that just? How is that kindness? How is that anything good? So it's actually a problem. Every one of those Death Eaters is actually a serial killer. They should be judged and be wanted dead or alive. And instead, the wizards don't get to do that. That's actually problematic in the world. That's showing a justice that isn't true, that isn't godly, that isn't biblical. So that is actually the problem with Harry Potter. It's not the magic, it's how are morals applied. That is something that you must coach your young men through. I have digressed more than I wanted to, but that is actually a problem. So, to move along, because I have more books to go through. Harry Potter. I love it. There's problems. Now, this next one is the book that I really enjoy, that every time I bring it up, all of my bookish friends don't know it. I've heard it mentioned from one other person. And ironically, it's Nate Wilson. And this is the book that his mom used to get him to stop reading Lord of the Rings. It is King Solomon's Mines. I buy most of my classic used, so I have a sticker here that I can't get off, and it doesn't bother me. Hopefully it doesn't bother you. I don't really care if it does. This book, I believe the guy's first name is Henry, but H. Rider Haggard. This book I really enjoy. Now, from a discussion point of view, I will never teach this book in class because it's pretty light on the great ideas. This book is just straight up fun. It is an adventure. It is a rollicking good time. The main character, Alan Quartermain, is a man's man. He's an elephant hunter in Africa who is asked to go and save someone's son. And a guy going along with him, I always forget his name, Sir Curtis Henry. I wrote it down, and I'm not finding it now. Yes, Sir Henry Curtis. I always forget to mess it up. Sir Henry Curtis. He is a man the size of an elephant, is how they describe him. And ironically, he spends half the book in his underwear because when the native Zulus find him, he is currently changing and shaving his beard. And so he shaves half his face and the other half is unshaven. So the natives, thinking that this is the way he's supposed to be, want him to stay half shaved and showing off his pearly white legs because they think they're magical because they're in Africa, so it's a bunch of black people, a Zulu tribe. The story is fantastic. The heroes are great. The villain is the most incredible villain. You must hate her with every fiber of your being. Her name is Gagool, the witch doctor. She is creepy as all get out. The witch hunt is actually the scene that Nancy Wilson read. Night Wilson, it will give young people nightmares. At least it should. If they have any kind of moral conscience or anything. Fantastic scene. Will send you chills up and down your spine. The other great scene is the final battle. It is awesome. And ironically, the final battle is like this far in the book. Hey, before the battle, there you go. 129, the attack, 138. Going through the last stand of the Greys. It's fantastic. And then you have a decent chunk of the book still left, where they actually possibly find the minds of King Solomon, which is the whole point of the book. Or not actually, but kind of. It's the title of the book, at least. Got to read it to figure out how it goes. Gagool goes down in the mines with them, and you'll never know what happens until you read the book of being in the mines with that crazy lady. Because she is like a shriveled up monkey. She's so creepy. You must read it. It is tons of fun. Totally a boy book. Girls, read it to marry someone like Alan Quartermain or Sir Curtis. Other than that, it's just a bunch of fighting. But boys, this is one for you. You'll enjoy it. Go do it. Ironically, he actually wrote that book as a bet with his brother. He had read or heard of, I actually don't know if you read it, of Jungle Book. And he said it was a hack book and anyone could write fiction like that. So his brother bet him that he couldn't, and so he wrote King Solomon's Mines in, allegedly, 6 weeks, which is pretty impressive. I would actually say I have read the original Jungle Book. There are some characters from the Disney one that are way better, so definitely go read Jungle Book. But I do actually think King Solomon's Mines is better and more enjoyable than Jungle Book. So you should read both of those and then comment below and tell me what you think. You're welcome to disagree with me. I don't really care. I have my opinions. You can have your own. But you should read both. Now, to shift completely, switch gears, totally, from fiction, I want to point out some books that have helped form the way that I think about the world. First off, as a Christian, I can't start without the Bible. It is the cornerstone and capstone of my thinking. It is the judge and jury of truth for me. Anything that will be called truth must stand against the wall of Scripture. For example, the idea of creation or creation evolution. Evolution on its face is a thought system in peril. It is self-defeating. The science does not back it up at all. The scientific world has not denounced it yet because it does not have something to replace it with. Once it does, it will die a quick and silent death, I think, and go by the wayside as all thought systems like that go. They are looking for a system to replace it and don't have anything. For example, why evolution disproves itself. Microbiology, so looking at how things are formed in the small arenas, completely disproves every taxonomy list and related cousin of animals' existence. I read a book by Dr. Michael Denton called Evolution: A Theory in Crisis. Really good book. The guy is not a believer, not a creationist, just pokes holes in the theory of evolution. And he actually wrote a second book called Evolution: A Theory Still in Crisis. But he goes through how and he's a microbiologist out of Australia, I believe, if I remember correctly. I believe the book is up there somewhere. But he goes through and how the microbiology, if you look at the related cousins through the taxonomy trees, things that should be forming the same ways, and ironically, the things that should be forming the same ways actually tend to form backwards. So, for example, he gives the actual scientific ones that are the ones that don't form right. I don't remember what they are. I read the book 5 years ago. But to give an example, evolution would say that man shaped and formed from monkeys. The microbiology, though, when a monkey is forming in the womb and a man is forming in the womb, a monkey will form from the fingertips up, and a man will form from the shoulders down. If they were the same form, they would form in the same way. But they're clearly not when you look at the development of the creatures. So the microbiology does not fit within the formation of the creatures. But the problem with evolution actually goes beyond that. The idea that the world is old is actually hugely problematic for humanity. If man is hundreds of thousands of years old and changing, so evolving, then what can we actually learn from the past? History is then limited, or the lessons we learn from history are limited. Why would we look to past generations to learn from when they are inferior beings? We have evolved from them. We are better than them. What do they have to teach us? If the world is young, though, and man is only a few thousand years old and is not evolving, then we can learn a lot from the men of history because they are like us. We haven't evolved from them. We are the same. There is nothing new under the sun, as the preacher says in Ecclesiastes. So the Bible is my starting and the end point. From Scripture, I would point to a book that does a very good job explaining how to read and understand the Bible. Now, this is a little book. Well, let's see, like 109 pages. This little book, Dispensational Hermeneutics by Michael Block. It is straightforward. It is clear thinking on a difficult subject of hermeneutics. I really enjoy how Block talks about it because he puts it very simply. Anyone can read and understand this book and what he is saying. And what he is saying is that anyone should be able to read and understand their Bibles. One does not need a complicated system or education in order to know what God is saying. That's why I like this book. That is how I read my Bible. That is how I think everyone should read their Bible and everything else. Know about what the author is, know about his time period, know how he would understand the words. So the literal, historical, grammatical understanding of the Scripture, and then read what it says. That's what I say the Bible means. That's his point. That's my point. On every book I read, I look at it that way. So one doesn't need a fancy education. Now, that is way more explaining how I think. A book that radically changed how I view the world is this one. God's Passion for His Glory. This is written by John Piper. Interestingly, though, it's actually a commentary on a book written by Jonathan Edwards called The End for Which God Created the World. Now, I am excited to reread this book for this channel because I read this when I was freshly out of high school. So, completely full of wisdom. I was retarded. At the time, this was actually the hardest book I'd ever read. I remember some of the arguments from it, but I haven't really dug through them. And so I'm really looking forward to rereading this because I read a lot of books that are a lot harder than that now. I mean, Plato, Socrates, a bunch of philosophy books that are much harder than that. So I'm excited to go back through that and really dig through it. I've taught logic now um, as well, and just kind of dig into it and see what he says again. Not because I think my views have changed, but just to actually thoroughly understand what he's saying. So I'm really looking forward to going through that again and sharing about it with you. Now, to switch gears yet again, some pagan books that have really changed my world, or at least the way I look at the world. And the first, I will mispronounce this guy's name, Anti-Fragile by Nassim Nicholas Taleb. Actually, I think I didn't say that too badly. This is a true and truly refreshing book on risk and how to build a life that gets stronger when bad things happen. Risk is something that happens to everyone. It can't be avoided, so you might as well build a life that expects it and can handle it, and even will get better or stronger through it. A super simple example would be, to a pagan, the worst thing that can happen to you is to die. So how could you make it so that death is the best thing to happen to your family? Well, life insurance. So you can take the worst possible thing for you and make it the best possible thing for your family. That is making your life anti-fragile. Anti-fragile is the fact that it gets stronger through adversity. And he looks at all things of life that way. So it's a very, very good book on how to actually build a life. And last book for tonight, because I am running out of words and voice. And yeah, I am well over my word quota for the day. So one last book for the night. I will gladly say this book is the only way I made it through all of my college. Limitless by Jim Quick. Ironically, he teaches you how to read quickly. Yes, I know. I would not have been able to finish all my schooling without lessons from this book. I owe him a great debt in helping me develop my mind. A lot of it may sound gimmicky to you when you read it. I think it's all true. So if you do pick up this book, have an open mind. This book looks at the human brain and how it actually works and how to make it work better foundationally. It is the way I got way more function and capacity out of my own mind. It's how I learned how to speed read and digest large amounts of information quickly. While the mind is not muscle, it actually functions a lot like a muscle that can be worked and stretched to accomplish way more than you ever thought possible. This book is good stuff. It'll teach you how to do more with yourself. You just have to work hard to get it. You literally have to keep working on rewiring how your brain works. So I will be going through this one too eventually. It is a fun one. It's a good one. It can actually change your life. It changed mine. So ignore it, take it up, take it. He's got a lot of videos on YouTube and his podcast that you can actually do for free. So like his podcast, I would say the first 12 episodes, like the very first 12 episodes, covers a good 80% of what's in the book. So I would definitely encourage you to go check that out if you're interested. If you take his exercises and do them, you will be a better reader, person, thinker, just through working on it. It takes work though. Now, everything I've referenced today in my video, I have included links below. They are just Amazon links at this point. So if you want to go find them, there's an easy way to find them. One day I will probably be doing affiliate links to make some money if you buy them through me. But at this point, they're not affiliate. They're just links. So I get nothing if you buy these books. I just really like them. I think they make you a better person if you read them. Now, again, to reiterate, this channel is going to be on books. I like books. I want to build this or resource for families to use. A place to go for recommendations to build your worldview. I then want to leverage this into actually building a publishing company. It has been over a decade that I've dreamed of running my own publishing company. And a big part of publishing is actually marketing the books. So here I am trying to build a marketing platform for books. I want my word to mean something when it comes to books. If I recommend something, I want you to trust my word. I will give you the good, bad, the ugly. I'll give you the warnings about it. I'll give you things to talk through, questions to ask, how to talk to your kids about it. Because there are some hard books that I will definitely go through that I will recommend, that I would encourage your kids to read and for you to talk to it with them, or for you to read and talk to people with it, because life is hard. You should be looking to do hard things and handle the hard things of life. Um, I often tell my students, no one gets out of life alive. So face it head on, face it with courage, with bravery, knowing that things are dark, but there is light. And the only way to get through the darkness and to the light is going through it. So good books can prepare you for the darkness that is ahead of your life, because unless you're dead, there's going to be dark times ahead, or almost dead. I guess you could be almost dead. If you're 90 years old and watching my videos, good on you. I hope the rest of your life is peaceful and you die without any more hardness, because it's going to happen at some point. But this is meant to be an encouragement to you. I am trying to build people that care about the world, that see it correctly, that see it the way God sees it. And I see a great tool that is through books. So I am trying to share my love of books with you. So I want to build your trust. I'm here laying my studied mind before you. So judge away. Do know, though, that I am a few 100,000 pages in. Doesn't mean I know I might be a doctor. There's a reason why doctors have practices, is because they don't know everything. So I've read a few 100,000 pages. I only have a few trillion left to go. I have read a lot of the great books. So here's to building something. Please share this video, subscribe to the channel, like it, comment. Everything helps. Engagement is everything. And with that, the night is getting old. I do no longer feel young. So with that, the doctor is out for the night. Thank you. Have a good day.